Hello, this is Terry with Blade Johnson FPV, and this is going to be part 7 of the build series of the Source One version 3 frame. And I'm going to start with my FlySky XM Plus. I've actually flashed new code to the receiver, and I've also already mounted it to my transmitter, so I've got that done and also mounted into the frame. And I've also got the wires connected to be soldered on to the flight controller. There are plenty of videos out there on how to flash the code to the FlySky XM Plus receiver and bind it. The best I've seen is Project Blue Falcon. I think that is probably the best videos to do that. I would just do a search on YouTube for that. I've got my camera mounted and my wires here, and I'm going to be connecting that up. I've also got my combo buzzer LED that I'm going to be mounting in the back, and I've also got my VTX board that I'm going to be installing. So what I'm going to do is be installing one component at a time. I'm going to start with my XM Plus receiver and go from there. Okay, I'm going to install my FlySky XM receiver, and I've got my diagram that I'm going to go by here. So I'm going to be connecting the S-Bus signal cable up first, and I like to use my fingers as much as I can with my wires. It just gives me a better feel of not only heat into the wires but the connectivity to the wires. So I'm going to go ahead and connect the S-Bus to the S-Bus pad. Give it a little tug, that's fine. I'm going to do the 5 volts to the receiver, to the 5 volt pad. And one thing I noted after I had done this is that my ground wire is a little too short, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and connect it to a ground wire that's in the back of the board. So I'm just going to shift or move my quad around a little bit, and the ground pad is on the outside, so I'm just going to solder the ground pad there. And I've got that done. So my receiver is on. Next, I'll probably put the camera on. Okay, I've oriented my frame the way I wanted to get it so I can start soldering. So I'm going to go ahead and solder my video in. Get that soldered. Do my voltage, which if you recall, I'm using VBAT through what they call the round pin, and that's going to be the center pin here. And the ground pin is going to be at the very end. So I've got the camera connected. I went ahead and just mounted my VTX board and also my LED buzzer on the back there with some zip ties, just to make sure I'm going to route the wires the way I originally want to route them. So I've got plenty of wire here, and I've got to cut it and to length. And I'm going to go ahead and start with soldering my smart audio from a VTX card to the board. It'll just be easier. So I'm going to connect the smart audio from the VTX to TX3 or UART3 transmit. Okay, I've got that done. Move these wires over, and I'll start soldering on the buzzer and LED. Okay, I'm going to start off with my LED and buzzer, and it shares a ground, so I'm going to connect this to the ground pin. Alright, then the plus 5 volts, again shared by, well, for the LED. Sorry, you probably can't see this very well. I get a shot of it after I'm done. Okay, LED is white. Put that on the white. There we go. And one more pin. And this is going to be my buzzer pin, or buzz minus. And looks like I've got that. Give a little, each one of these a little tug to make sure they're soldered on there right. Solder the connectors on from my VTX card, and I'm going to start with my video out, which is the on the flight controller. Video out is actually the video into the VTX. Got that done. I'm referencing my paperwork here just to make sure I've got there. The next pin is the RAM pin, which, if you recall, is actually VBAT connected. So let's go ahead and do that. Got that connected. And then last but not least is the ground cable, or the ground connector. Little ground pin on my video, and I got those on. One thing that I did with my VTX card, there's a 5 volt out. I just disconnected that piece of wire, unsoldered it from the board, and there's also a ground out, and that would have went to my camera if I would have wanted to, but I'm powering my camera from the flight controller there. So right now, I've actually completed all my soldering. I've got my ESC motors connected. I got my flight controller connected to my ESC. I've got my camera connected. I've got my VTX board connected to the flight controller. Not only to that, but I've also got the little MCC, MMCM, I think it's called, the connector to the my antenna, and I'm going to have to choose my antenna in just a little bit. I've got my buzzer LED connected, and under here I've got my FlySky XM Plus connected to my flight controller. And what I'm going to be doing is double checking every connection again. I'll double check. This time I'll actually be triple checking everything. And I'm going to be definitely be putting on a antenna before I power anything up. So that's what I'm going to do actually right now, is to choose an antenna and put this on, and I'll come back and show you what antenna I chose. Got my antenna. It's a Foxeer Lollipop. And one thing to always make sure, because I did this when I started building, is to make sure your connectors are male to female. And again, I know there are different names for these connectors. I don't know why, SMA, SM, blah, 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 blah. But just always make sure you got male to female. And these are, and I'm just going to screw that on. I was hoping I had just a small one, and I might order just one of those little small ones there, but with this here, the way this is and as rigid as that is, I don't think it'll ever hit my prop. So I think that is good. So I'm going to double check all of my connectors again, make sure there's no shorts. This is my connections for my camera. These are the 3 connections to my VTX card. These are my power and S-Bus connectors to my FiSky XM Plus receiver. These 3 connections here is my LED 5 volts ground, and the blue behind is for the buzzer. This is my smart audio connector here, and behind these guys, let's see here, this ground connector here, it goes right here, is the connector for the ground for my XM Plus. So that's how I've got everything set up and soldered, and I did do a continuity test to check for any shorts, and there was no shorts there. So I'll go ahead and continue. And in the next video, I'm going to be applying power, checking my camera to make sure it's okay, and then start configuring my flight controller with my transmitter and go from there.